Hey, welcome to Motorbike Mondays, episode 16. This is Evan from Race Tech Electric.
This is Brady from Seaweed and Gravel.
And I'm Jared from Seaweed and Gravel, and also San Diego.
And Ian from La Mesa. So we have a couple guests with us tonight. We have Dom and John from Close Fabrication. So say hi, guys.
Hey.
How's it going? Yeah, it's more John, just Close Fabrication.
Well,
I guess I'm over there enough.
we hang out.
Nobody knows. You might as well take some credit.
That's right. Okay.
Got the chance.
Yeah. Master Fabric.
I'm 95% partner. He's 5%.
Yeah,
he hasn't paid any money into it yet, so
He's the tax write-off.
Right.
yeah.
Yep. Just about.
5% sounds pretty good for not doing anything.
Yeah, that's
I just gave that to you just now. That's right.
So
Forgot about that.
let's start. Tell us a little bit about Close Fabrication, so everybody knows what you do.
Well, I started it about 3 years ago. I bought a lathe from Craigslist because I wanted one, and a friend of mine needed some parts made, and I made them for him. And he wanted to know. I wanted to know how close they needed to be as far as tolerance was. And I said, I'll make them as close as I can, close enough. So then he was kind of laughing about it, and I said, that'd be a funny name for a company. It's close enough. How close to motorcycle parts really need to be?
That's cool.
So that's where the name Close Fabrication kind of came from. And
So what kind of parts do you make?
I make I've made parts for any kind of motorcycle. I made parts for cars too. So if you have like a one-off idea in your head that you've drew on a napkin while you're at a restaurant or something, you want someone to make it, I can at least try to make it. So.
You do a lot of like taillights and
turn signals and stuff. Pegs.
Like
That's like my main thing. But
So
I
do you
can
have like products that you stock, like you have specific stuff you make and keep on the shelf, or is it all one-off?
Everything's one-off. I kind of looked into doing the product on the shelf kind of thing, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, it's tough.
Didn't really make sense because
Yeah.
financially I'd need a whole bunch of money up front. So
And you're buying all that stock and
Yeah.
you're making stuff,
Yeah.
and if it doesn't sell,
So right now, if I have some things that if you look at my website, I have some of those items that they're one-off, but they're for sale. I just because I wanted to make them.
Yeah.
But if my main thing is if you have something that you want, or if you want something on a bike that no one else has, that's where I'm.
So
I'm at.
anybody can contact you to get stuff built.
Absolutely.
Some
Yeah.
guy out of his garage that wants a custom tail light or something.
Yeah,
Right on.
absolutely.
Oh, that's cool. I'll definitely post a link to the website. It's closefabrication.com, so check it out. There's some cool stuff on there.
Thank you.
What about you, Dom?
What do you do, Dom?
Oh, I just hang around.
No, I mean not
Oh,
close
okay.
fab. Just
Well,
tell us about.
I'm a truck driver. I drive a big rig for a meat company, and I just tinker with John. Love British bikes. That's kind of where
Dom had
thing.
Dom had a really cool Triumph that won a couple shows, right?
Yeah, just one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I won the Long Beach Motorama.
Best
Yeah.
in show, right?
Best in show.
Best
First
in
time
show.
I took it out.
Yeah, that bike was...
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that thing was
Bike was
clean.
beautiful.
I remember when we went to that little barbecue for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I.
Oh,
Over at Adams.
At Adams
at
place, yeah.
Adams.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome. That bike.
That was the day after I crashed on the KZ.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I had
You
the
dumped
big
it.
ass freaking ice pack on my knee, and my knee was like.
Do you guys have some
Soccer
pictures of
ball?
that bike? That would be cool. To
Yeah,
post
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can get you some pictures.
Okay,
of
nice.
But
that.
Dom's didn't like. You also did like a XS650 tracker that was pretty sweet. That was at Seaweed for a while.
Yeah, that was my grandpa's. That thing was really cool. Yeah, but the Triumph was cool. I just got rid of it fast, so didn't really get a ton of time to enjoy it. But
Yeah, John, you had a lot of pieces on that as well.
Yeah, I made the taillight for that, the pegs. Made license plate bracket.
Wasn't even like some
Headlight
fasteners
brackets.
and stuff like that too, or
What's that?
Like some fasteners as well on there.
yeah,
There's
the big brass bushings for the
there was a bunch of parts on there that I
the
made.
brake stay, the brake pedal. Remember all that?
Mhm.
All that little stuff.
John
made that
painted
bike.
it.
I painted
the whole
I painted the
bike,
bike
too.
too. Yeah,
No way.
that was my second paint job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spun the forks too. The
Do
forks roll
you,
shapes.
do you
The
still
forks
want to
down?
do paint after your second too?
You know what?
Because that's something I have difficulties with, like really being passionate about.
Yeah, paint takes a lot of work,
Mm,
and it's messy work, and it's almost like more work than I'd rather pay some dude $600
Yeah.
to do
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we're figuring
How
out.
I feel.
Yeah.
But it came out sick.
But
Like
it did
John,
turn out really nice.
John
Yeah.
is like, "Oh, I don't know, man." He's like, "Come over and check this thing out." I don't know, and I like go over there, and it's sick.
Hey,
Like
when
won
I
a
looked at it, like I couldn't tell that
It was the second bike I painted.
It looked like Dom went and paid,
Yeah.
tons of money to get
yeah.
it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I thought there was a guy next to Adam's shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked good.
My father-in-law at the time, he was a paint dude. He worked with automotive paints and stuff, and he sent me like this top of the line paint gun. He gave me all this equipment, like gave me everything I needed to know how to paint.
Yeah,
So the painting part's easy.
Yeah.
It's the prep and everything. It's
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
You made
it's
that
just way-
sick paint booth
Yeah.
in the garage.
Yeah, I made a paint booth in my garage. Made out of plastic. It was all. It was like a hot box kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
What'd you do with the paint on it? Was it one color?
It was
you do some
on
custom
Dom's.
stuff?
No, Dom's had it was silver with a white scallop.
Uh-huh.
So that was my first time doing like a graphic.
Right.
So
And then it
Just
wrapped.
just taped it off and
yeah, I just
painted
taped
it
it. I
silver?
did the base color was actually a Volvo truck white. It's like kind of
Oh,
off white
cool.
cream
Yeah.
color.
Uh-huh.
And then I had some silver that was a custom silver mix that I got from somebody. And I sprayed the silver down, and then we had one of Dom's buddies do a pinstripe
Yeah.
Over the
over
scallop.
the scallop to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
separate and stuff.
Nice.
That actually was a double pinstripe. It was a
It
black
was
and
black
gold.
and gold.
It looked
That's
really
cool.
cool. Yeah,
That
Really
makes
cool.
the scallops pop a lot when you
Yeah.
put a
Yeah.
line over 'em
We
or
scalloped the
something.
tank and then we scalloped the fender.
Nice.
Yeah, it turned out. It's surprising. It turned out really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Surprising. I was
I can say I have
surprised.
a best in show paint job. on
Yeah.
motors.
Yeah.
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 That's cool.
It's good to have in your portfolio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty sweet to
Yeah.
like take a huge show
Yeah.
the first time it was out, and
It
then
won best in show. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
nail
like,
it on
dude.
your first shot.
nailed it, sold it. So it's like,
that turned out to be a really nice bike, and
That's awesome.
we were kind of upset that he sold it so fast. Didn't get to enjoy it, but
I remember when you let Joe ride that thing at Seaweed.
Everyone lets Joe
shitting.
ride that, or everyone lets Joe like ride their bike.
yeah,
I was
Joe's very
what it is.
trustworthy. Like
he is. But I know him enough.
Sounded like there's a butt coming.
but
No, he's a solid guy. He's one of. I love that kid.
Yeah.
but
he's just like real mellow. Like he's like,
Yeah.
you don't think he's gonna like rev it and ride it real
Wait,
hard,
then what's the
but
guy do? Go rip wheelies all over the
no,
place?
no, I don't know. He's
You're
a
making it
trustworthy
sound like
guy.
he's
He is a
fucking
trustworthy
evil
guy.
Knievel.
No, he's a good.
I don't want to make this sound like I'm talking bad on him.
No,
I'm
no.
not trying to do that, but it's surprising that everyone trusts him.
yeah,
to
he took my
ride.
car out the other day too.
No,
Yeah, him and Lizzie.
you let everyone drive that car. Though.
Yeah, everybody can drive my car. I really don't care.
Yeah, don't let me drive it.
You can drive it.
I don't have a license, so how do you feel
You
about it
can-
now?
You can drive it.
All right, that's pretty genius.
John's also the dude. Like a couple episodes back, or maybe like I don't know, 6 or 7 episodes back, I had an old Triumph. What was it?
That was a 70. I think it was a 71 or 72 Bonneville.
Yeah, I had an old Bonneville that I was working on from a dude, and then I just didn't have time for it, and so John's the guy that I passed it off to, and
Yeah, that was the guy bought that from a dude in Texas. I guess
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
some
that guy.
tweaker guys in Texas that it just wasn't finished.
whatever.
So
What happened with that thing? I mean, I know I went over and saw it, but
I
Like an eBay bike or something?
No.
I don't think
the
I don't
kid
know.
lived in Texas, and he bought
Yeah.
this whole roller for $800 or something. Like
Oh.
what seemed like a good deal, but then when you get down into it, it just was a.
It basically needed finished. So I mounted the oil tank, I mounted the fender, re-raised the fender
Got it.
to match the tire better, mounted the seat, and sissy bar and stuff.
Right.
It just needed finished. And I got it running for him. I did the wiring on it. If you know anything about Triumph wiring, there's, even on the unit Triumphs, the later ones, there's 10 wires maybe,
Yeah.
tops, and it's
I
the
like
really,
the sound
really
of that.
simple setup.
Oh yeah.
No battery.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot that can go wrong, not a lot to figure out. So
So
that's why I like Triumphs.
do you still have that thing, or are you
I'm waiting for him to come pick it up and pay me. So John, if you're listening, the bike's in my garage. I'm waiting for you to come pick it up.
Sick.
Well, I hope it goes better than the BMW
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, and that's actually the first unit Bonneville I've ever ridden. A Bonneville is a twin carb bike, and it was surprisingly fast. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
When did they become the unit motors?
How about
what was
we
the-
how about we do what's in the shop, and we'll spend some brief time, and then we'll get into the meat of Triumphs.
Okay, but somebody better ask that question again.
What's in the shop?
I wasn't ready yet, dude. I didn't look at you for it.
Every time I hear it, I think it's
No,
recording.
it's
live.
live.
Wow.
No, that's always Jared live, and then you get Brady scowling as soon as he does it because he doesn't think it's funny.
It doesn't even faze me anymore.
I laugh
It
every
phases
time
you
I
a
hear
little
it.
bit. It phases you a little bit. I always appreciate it though.
In the shop.
What's in the shop?
I'm not there. I haven't been there in a couple days. CV 550. I think I told you guys last week it's done. I was riding it on Saturday, and it started just dying on me. And I don't know what's happening because I haven't done anything to it yet. So I limped it home and like was just loading up. I pulled into the middle of the intersection and just started like loading up on me and not wanting to run. And I got off into a parking lot. Couldn't figure anything out. It wasn't anything obvious. It wouldn't idle. I'm pretty sure what's going on is there's just some sediment in the gas tank, and I ran it really empty, and then now all that sediment is just clogging my jets. But I was able to.
But that started Saturday because that thing was running tits on Friday night.
I rode it for like 2 days and it was fine, and then I ran
Yeah.
out of gas, and then I filled it up, and I think that's why.
There's too many carburetors
Oh.
on that thing.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, there is.
Carburetors, yeah.
So I was like 6 miles from my house and 2 miles from my parents' house, so I just kind of like limped it home, first gear.
At least it looks sweet.
I took it to my parents' house, and then I went back and picked it up. But it was like 15 miles an hour was like the top speed I could go, and like I was at 3/4 throttle the whole way, like or more, like trying to just juice it. And sometimes it would like surge, and I'd get some power, and then it would die. And then, but yeah, I made it there and picked it up, and so I got to go pick that up. It's at Seaweed.
Isn't
right
that
now.
thing shipping out soon?
April 1st?
Oh,
But
you got a
little
little
does
bit
the
of time.
customer know it's April Fool's joke. Just kidding, it's not really.
Well, now he knows.
Yeah, but that's what's going on with that.
I currently am still working on that 77 Yamaha XS750. And I think last I mentioned I finished up the pipes on it.
See, this is the
and
problem when we do podcasts like 4 days apart. Is
there's really not much
what's in the
update.
shop updates are not very exciting.
Yeah.
Are those 750s similar to the 650s as far as like the?
No,
they're
that's
triples.
a triple.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a badass motor.
They're amazing. They're so cool.
Really?
Yeah, they have their like they have their issues kind of out of the box, but easily kind of massaged out.
I don't know. In my experience, the timing chain snaps as soon as you sell them. So
Yeah.
Not your problem, right?
Yeah, I mean,
At least you sold it.
they're kind of
yeah,
they're not
It's after I
really.
sold it, so I
I
don't
don't. They weren't really engineered how most older motors are, where they're pretty simple to work on.
Yeah.
don't you
I-
think it's kind of weird that they still used the XS model name for that?
No.
Because they made the XS650 for like what 5 or 6 years already, and then they used
They
the
made
same.
the XS650 for
Well, no, they started those in like 71, the XS650,
made
and
them
then
till,
the
like, 84.
750 came out in like what
Maybe not that
75 or 76 or something. And it's like
Yeah, but then they
it
had
was
a
not
900 and an
it was
1100
not
too,
similar at all,
which
and they
were
used the
both
same model.
4-cylinder
what?
XS 900.
No,
and
so they made an
1100.
XS850, which
Oh, yeah.
was the
850.
successor to the 750.
But they also made an XS 1100, I believe.
yeah, that was a
That was a
XS1000.
four-stroke. Oh,
that was a
maybe.
4-cylinder.
Yeah,
Inline
4-cylinder.
I have
four.
no idea.
Yeah,
I
Japanese.
did a XS650 for a guy
Mm.
in 2012, and that thing, those are good motors.
Yeah,
Really
they're
good
solid.
motor.
They definitely weren't as popular as the XS650s, and they weren't really the same.
And they still
bike
look good.
along.
XS650 motors look good.
Yeah,
Yeah, they look-
exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
the closest Japanese motor to a Triumph.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a good look to them.
Well, except have you seen the well, these are newer, but have you seen the Kawasaki W650?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had 3 of those. Awesome bikes.
Really?
So cool, man. They're amazing.
Yeah,
They
those
look
have,
like
those have
that bike.
recently kind of
Every
caught
time
on.
I rode that, I would get stopped asking if it was a Bonneville. Every single.
They have the bevel drive
Yeah,
too, right?
exactly.
Bevel drive camshafts. Yeah,
they're
those things are
awesome,
cool.
man. They're really cool bikes.
Yeah, those are hard to find for
Now they're super rare.
reasonable-
They were only imported in 2000 and 2001. So, and then like
Oh, is
5
that
or
why you
6.
never see 'em?
Yeah, there's only 2 years here. They still make them in Japan, so you can get parts for them easily.
Oh, shit.
But they only brought them here for 2 years, and like about 4 or 5 years ago, they just hadn't caught on, so you could pick them up. I bought.
Dude, that thing looks exactly like a
Yeah,
Triumph.
you can't even tell
it's
the
a
difference.
Triumph knockoff.
I debadged it, and like you could not tell.
Yeah.
And I bought those things. I bought the first 2 for
Yeah,
2,000 a piece, and then one for 2,200. And each one I sold for 4.
Dude, that's
They're killer.
insane.
Now
you
I
can't
don't think
find-
I've ever even seen one in
You
person.
can't find them for under
W1,
4 grand
right?
now. They're
Really?
like
Huh.
through the roof.
W650, I guess.
They
is what
they
it's called.
caught on, and now everybody looks for them.
Because they're supposed to be like the old W1s, right?
Yeah, that was the deal. Yeah, exactly.
But
They're great bikes, really cool bikes.
It's awesome.
yeah, so still
as cool as
still
a
working on that.
Triumph, but
I am moments away from breaking it down and getting into paint. And then the past couple of days have been doing a little stuff or a few things to that 86 GSXR 750 that I did sell to a really cool kid, and want a little work done to it. So kind of getting it all tied up, and I finished up the work on it today. Took a little test spin on it, and the thing runs freaking genius, and kind of pissed I sold it now. The thing is so much fun.
Did he pick it up?
No, tomorrow. So that's what I got in the shop, and
You could still cancel the sale and sell it to me for like $200. That option's always out there.
it's an option. I'm not really pursuing.
Sounds like a solid deal.
I'm just saying you could keep it in mind.
Evan, what about you?
Well, nothing
Nothing
new,
new.
really. I haven't done anything else on the RS100 project. I've got a parts list together, so I'm going to get everything ordered for it this week, and then get started putting it back together. The main thing is I'm trying to find the cylinder's in good shape, and I don't really want to go oversized on the new top end because there's no need to. But trying to find a stock size piston has ended up being like next to impossible.
I found a place because I got an RD 200.
Uh-huh.
There's a place in Pennsylvania actually that had every part for that bike.
Oh, really? What's it called?
I don't remember.
That would be awesome.
But
to
I'll
know.
look it up in my email.
Well, I found, so doing research on these, they still make basically this exact same bike in Thailand. So on eBay, every single part brand new, you can find everything. They still call it the RS100. You can find absolutely everything for them.
Knock
Ex-
off.
But they're
except
made in
the-
Thailand.
Yeah.
Like
Except the
Thailand.
standard
Get
carburetors,
anything you
brand
want
new
over there.
carbs are like $22 or something.
Yeah.
Except
like,
they have longer seats
everything.
to put families of 5 on them.
yeah, we're 50.
Yeah.
5 lady
Do
boys
you know
on
what?
there.
I would just clean up that piston and see what you got in there. It doesn't look too bad. Like there's some wear on the skirts, but
Yeah.
nothing. It
I just
doesn't look.
wanted to
too
replace
severe
it for the hell of
cracked or
it, but
anything.
I'm not going to spend that much more time looking for one.
No.
But every oversize, like there's 5 oversizes for it, and you can find every single one on
Except
eBay
standard.
easily, except standard. Yeah.
The-
Well, just
Wiseco
re-ring it.
makes a kit for it.
Just I would
too.
just
I might do
re-ring it
that.
and deglaze the cylinder and
Yeah.
see what you got. If not, it's not that difficult to break it open again.
Yeah, right. That's true.
The place is called Speed and Sport.
Speed and Sport.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look that up.
Really, really good.
That would be cool.
What about you,
Um,
John? What's your shop?
Right now on my lift in my shop, quote unquote shop, my garage at my house, is 61 Bonneville. That's a pre-unit. We'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
But that one's going to be kind of like a showcase of everything I can do as far as
pretty cool.
skill-wise. Like the bike I rode here today, the 51.
Yeah, it's a sweet bike.
I didn't do the hardtail on that, which I wish I would have.
Mm-hmm.
So this bike is kind of like the Bonneville is going to be everything I can do.
Yeah.
So
You're doing
I
all
thought you were on the soft
all the
tail on
fab.
though.
That one's gonna be a soft tail.
Yeah, it's
Because
sick.
if you guys ever rode a hardtail for a long distance, it's not really that fun.
No.
I liked it.
Not.
Actually, the most comfortable bike I've had was my old hardtail Ironhead.
I guess if you have a good like, did you have a Springer seat on
Big
it?
I had a
Tires.
Springer seat
Yeah.
on it. It wasn't
Not
like,
too bad, but I want
Um,
something that's going to be something me and my wife.
Yeah,
can
but
ride
how
on
far
together.
did you
Yeah.
ride it regularly? Like, did you ride it
Well,
on
I
the
mean, the
freeway a
longest
lot?
ride I did was nonstop, except stopping for gas every 40 miles.
So where?
Well, there you
up
go.
To Big Bear.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was like 250.
I
not
commuted
that
on
far.
one for a little bit, really unsafely shitty hardtailed CB750, and from here to San Diego for about 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
it was miserable, and I decided I never wanted a hardtail bike again.
Yeah,
after that.
this one's going to have like I got a Harley Sportster front end for it, so it has like updated
Cool.
suspension.
Oh, that'll be nice.
That's rad.
So it's going to look old,
Mhm.
but it's going to have
Newer perks.
Yeah.
newer. Should ride a little bit newer anyway.
Yeah, I've got a set of I think early 2000 GSXR 600 forks in the shop they're not inverted forks, they're just your
The standard forks.
yeah, that I'm waiting to throw on the build. Something that like kind of looks original.
Yeah, that's a problem
but
when you see those guys that toss the inverted forks. I like the way they look,
Mhm.
but it has to be
It has to fit the build.
has to fit
for
the build,
sure.
yeah.
Exactly.
yeah, because
Um,
those even the older inverted forks still look too new for
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
yeah.
So I'm waiting for a build to use those on. I was thinking it'd be good for like a tracker.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I've been dying to do. I just want to get loose on the dirt.
And the good thing
but-
about those too is you can, especially the Japanese standard forks, you can
Mhm.
toss. They make cartridge kits for them,
exactly.
or that you can revalve them so they
Mhm.
work super good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
But they look
it's a
old.
competitive market, so
Yeah.
it's reasonably priced.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
like trying to revalve a Harley fork.
Right.
There's a few select companies that do it, and it's Harley, so you have to pay for it.
Right. You have everything. You toss the Harley on it.
Yeah.
It doubles the price automatically.
Mhm.
For sure.
But
What about you, Dom?
What
What are you working on?
do we got? I got the
Dom's got a pretty
55, yeah. T110, it's pretty sick. Me and John, did you find that bike or did I find the bike originally?
Okay, this is a good story. Dom sends me a text, dude. Look at this bike on eBay. This is a super good deal. I look at it. I'm like, Dom, I want to get this bike.
Yeah.
He also sent it to another friend of ours at the same time, telling him to also get the bike.
Rob?
Rob.
Yeah.
So Rob sees it. So Dom's telling both of us to buy this bike.
No, so I'm telling both, and then I told you, I was like, dude, let's just split it.
I'm like,
go half
yeah,
on
sure,
bike.
cool. And then here goes Rob. He's driving up to buy this bike
Yeah. Rob already
the next
called the
day.
dude. cut
Already
a
called the
deal,
dude, makes a deal,
and he's driving
Rob-
up to
Rob
San
bought the
Francisco.
bike.
Yeah.
So
So Rob got the bike,
Rob got the bike.
and then it was just you guys got it running just that one day to see if it would fire.
We got it fired up like the same day. He brought it home. I set the timing on it. We cleaned the spark plugs
the
and everything.
condenser was
whatever.
out.
It fired right up. Bike ran right up the bat. So cool. We knew it ran.
So then, because I wasn't sure if it ran. I think
Yeah.
it paid like $3,000 for the bike. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sick. It's
like a Survivor.
It's full
Yeah.
Survivor.
Nice.
It's got
That's
old chrome
cool.
tank. It has Bates fork covers. It's got Bait headlight mount.
Yeah, it was,
Sparta
it
tail
was
light.
modified back in the 60s. Super Survivor.
Mhm.
Dom
Oh, nice.
actually
That's awesome.
went crazy on it and took some brake cleaner, which I.
Oh yeah. We
like,
got
what are you doing? You're crazy.
the fender was black originally, and it looked cool because you could see like red underneath it, and there was like a
Oh,
teal
nice.
color.
Yeah.
But I could see that original, like that Thunderbird blue.
Yeah.
Like it looked like it was down there, and I was like, oh man. So I think Rob told me a long time ago. He's like, dude, if you take brake cleaner on like crappy paint, if there's good paint underneath,
It'll stay.
the good paint will stay, and all the crap
Good,
will
like
come
old
off.
lacquer.
Yeah. So
the
I
old lacquer. Right.
I pulled this fender off, and I'm like outside of my garage, and I'm just spraying it, and I'm like, I was like, it's not really doing anything. And then like all of a sudden, like this bright red starts to come through. I'm like, oh shit! I was like, I just wrecked it because it looked good when it was
Yeah.
black. So then I kept going with it, and I think I went through like 6 or 7 cans of brake cleaner on it. But I got down. It has the blue paint was
Original
under
blue paint
there
with the
Wow.
pinstripe and
the
everything.
blue the dark blue stripe down the middle, and then the white pinstripes are on either side, and it's still
Really
there.
cool.
No way.
Oh, that's awesome.
So is the
sweet.
red like the like a burgundy primer or something like that?
It
or-
was it was painted so many, like it was black, and then it was red, and
and
it
then
was
the
it
original
was gloss.
color was underneath.
Yeah, the original, and then it was
Wow.
it was primered, and then it was a teal, it looked like an aquamarine teal,
Yeah, yeah.
which was actually, it was kind of a cool color too. And then under that was the original paint, so it was super rad.
Just excavating history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it was
That's
sitting in
cool.
Rob's shed, and I was like, dude, I don't have a bike right now. I was like, give me the bike. I'll go through the whole thing, get it running,
Clean it up.
fucking let me ride it whenever. And he's like, oh yeah, I don't care. You know, if you know Rob, like that's how
he
Rob
has more cars and bikes than
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rob's got plenty of stuff to play with. So
We
it's
actually
like,
might
okay,
buy a 360 from him.
yeah, the green one.
The green one,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, the
No,
red
the
one.
red
The red one is really cool. I was there when he got that thing. So we got it. Went over to John's. Got it. It was already running. It fired right up. What did we go through? We went through. We wired it,
Did the wiring on it. Super easy.
and we couldn't get it to work.
I rode it to work one day. It ran really good.
Yeah.
Dom took it to his house because it was leaking shit all over
Didn't
my
it break
floor.
down on you?
Well, it was leaking already, but it was
It was leaking.
it was bad, but it was still running really good. So it was like, okay, top it off. You're good.
Whatever, just ride it.
Yeah.
If it
He
leaks,
rode
who
it,
cares?
and it was okay. Took it back to his house, finished the wiring, got the lights to work because we had the
Yeah, I
dynamo
rode
was
to
reversed.
work with no tail light, no headlight working because I didn't really care.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out why we didn't have lights on the thing, and then figured out the dynamo was the poles were reversed on it. So flipped the poles.
Figured it
It was
out.
sweet. So I was like, okay, sweet. This thing's running. Took it back home, and I told you. Remember I told you before I left. I was like, dude, I'm going to take this thing home, and it's not going to start,
gonna
and it's
work.
going to break. Well, anyways, I took it out the next day, and I rode the crap out of it. I rode it pretty hard, and I'm a big dude, so like I was getting down on that thing, and it's pumping oil like bad.
It shoots oil
I
out
mean,
of every.
It's
orifice.
shooting oil out of the rockers. It's
Everywhere.
shooting oil out of the crankcase.
Like a Triumph is supposed to leak oil,
Yeah.
but there's a difference between leaking
It's-
oil and
yeah.
hemorrhaging
The
oil.
sump
Yeah.
was leaking. Between the cases is leaking.
It was bad.
The transmission was leaking. I think I pumped out like a quart of. It's like a 2-quart tank. I think I pumped out a quart in like an
Oh,
hour.
man.
So I'm like 5 minutes from home, not even like just under the overpass there, and it's like starts popping on me and just doing all kinds of crazy shit. And pulled into the gas station, and the top of the carb doesn't have the stay on it. It came off, and it was almost the slide almost popped out. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'm just
Easy fix.
the mixture's all fucked up in there, and so I cranked it back down, and I'm just kicking it, and like just more oil is pumping. I mean, I got like a puddle of oil under me at the gas station there,
Yeah.
and it's nothing. So he was just getting off work, which was sweet. I was like, dude, go grab. We thought the plugs were like super fouled, so I was like, get plugs, this and that. When got them, wasn't that. So then we're like, dude, it's got to be spark. So he's like, you touch it. And I was like, I'm not touching. He's like, it's your fucking bike. Touch it. So finally, like, I grabbed it, and he's kicking it over, and it's sparking. But, I mean, it wasn't enough. I mean, I could hold my finger on it, and it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
making me jump. So the magneto is now probably lost its magnetivity. So it either needs to be rebuilt or
Magnetations.
magnetized or whatever. So, yeah, that's leaking all over my garage still.
Well, if it
and,
makes you feel any better, when I got my 51 done, it took me about a year to work out all the bugs.
Yeah.
So that's like,
But it was running. Okay, but I got to say, for like the hour I
it was
rode
running
it,
pretty good.
It was awesome.
it
Oh,
rocked, dude. I
You
had
have an
that
hour
thing.
riding it, and then you have.
I had it
3
on the
months to work.
78.
Yeah.
That's probably what was like the last straw on it. I
Oh, yeah,
probably,
just
I was
overdoing it.
passing traffic like nobody's business. I bet I was probably doing close to 80 on that bike.
Yeah.
And before it got like
But
too
it went
sketchy.
pretty good.
Yeah, but it was cool. So we'll get that done. I got that. I got the 86 Honda Spree in there. That's pretty sweet. It's 50 cc's. It's my fiance's.
that little scooter.
With the
Yeah,
back.
that's probably the best thing that runs in there. And then I got the hot rod in
Japanese.
there.
It's
So
always going to run.
yeah, that's what I got going. So.
Cool.
Yeah, Dom showed up in his. It's probably one of my favorite hot rods.
Yeah, I think
his.
sweet. I love
It's
that
a 28.
Yeah, 28 Ford.
28 Ford.
Model A sedan.
Love driving that thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it looks killer.
Yeah, I think
is-
everybody's
it is
driven
done
it.
very well.
What motor's in that? What is it?
It's a small block Chevy. It's like it's either late 60s Camaro truck. It's a
Oh,
4-ball
okay.
main block. It's got a cam and
You've got some pretty sweet heads on it too. Or is that just
the headers?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the little lake pipes on it and stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
it
the
looks nice.
or is that just the
the heads that I have at home that I'm gonna put on it.
No, or is it just
The
covers?
Offenhauser valve.
Oh, the
covers.
Offie. Yeah, I got
Those
Offie
are-
valve
Those are
covers.
rad.
Yeah, it's all dressed up in old stuff. I
Yeah.
pretty much just got to get rid of I have a stupid Edelbrock carburetor on it that I hate.
Kind of came up with a
There's
with
like
a
that.
name for it. It's called the Pussy Wagon.
Yeah, the
If I
Pussy
can say
Wagon.
that.
Yeah.
Is
However,
that the
when you
I'll go for it. Sorry.
when you drive it, it's not really a Pussy Wagon. It's the old man dick wagon.
Yeah.
exactly.
Every old man you see that
Yeah.
gives you a
Yeah,
fist
all
pump.
about
like,
it.
Yeah.
I used to have one of those when I was a kid.
Like going to the gas station is
And
like,
chicks don't look at you right.
yeah, that's true.
Old dudes love it.
Old dudes, yeah, it's
Old
old
dudes
dude
don't.
porn right there, man. That's
No,
good
because
stuff.
chicks don't want to sit there like, it doesn't have a roof?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
I tried to
go
get my
Jenny's in
fiance to go for a drive with me on Saturday, and she's like, "Oh, it's too hot."
It's
I
gonna
was
mess
like,
up my hair.
"Oh man, that's what it's supposed to do."
You guys
So-
rode it.
A
You
lot
guys
of
drove it to
airflow.
the show. To the
Yeah,
art
yeah. We
show?
took it out that night, just
Yeah.
during the day.
Yeah, that
It
car
was-
is that's my favorite car to drive.
Yeah. It's just
I
super
love
solid
that, yeah.
too.
Mhm.
so.
Did you build the whole thing?
No, my buddy Adam, he actually did just about everything on
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So, and then we helped
Yeah,
out
I like that style. That's really cool.
here and there. Yeah. It's killer. We actually built it for one buddy of mine, and then we ended up getting it back. So, it's solid, man. It's a cool
Super
car.
fun car.
Yeah, and there's definitely with that type of hot rod, there definitely is a major difference between a rat rod and a hot rod when it comes to it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And
It's-
so
Yeah, it gets that-
that car definitely is not a rat rod.
No, like people, like that's another thing you get with the
Oh.
old dudes too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool rat rod, and it's just like,
rat rod thing.
well,
is
yeah, I
so
mean, it doesn't
dumb.
have paint and stuff, but like this is like a way solid built
Yeah.
car. Like
Right.
we put a lot of time
Exactly.
and effort into planning this thing out and building it right. I mean,
Well, you
It
didn't
started
go out of
from
your
that-
way
from the
to-
story I know of it. It started as a rat rod.
oh yeah, dude,
It was a total
sketchy.
piece of shit.
My
Yeah.
buddy bought it while he was stationed in Afghanistan from eBay. Like
Oh, wow.
after everyone told him not to buy it, and it got to my house, dude, and he paid like 10 G's for it,
Oh, wow.
and it
He could have got a
was-
super nice car here in California
yeah.
for 10 G's.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it was worth like 2,000 in parts. Like
Yeah,
as
it
it
was
was
really
together,
bad.
it was probably worth less than that.
Well, the funniest part is I remember you telling me it was the rear was hooked up with Kawasaki
Yeah.
motorcycle shots.
yeah, and
Oh, really?
in the description, like the big description, it listed all the parts on this thing. Yeah, and it said rear coilovers. So you think coilovers?
Oh, yeah, they're
it's
gonna be
like,
nice.
Yeah.
I got hot rod, old man
Exactly.
coilovers in the back of this thing. No, dude, we pulled that thing. We pulled the floor. First of all, you couldn't even see underneath it because the floor was like it was riveted together. It was like copper.
Oh, they didn't
Floor.
use stop signs for the floorboards?
Oh no, there was license plates
there
for
was
the
a couple
firewall,
license
dude.
plates,
yeah.
There's the
Yeah,
whole.
there were license plates
there was
on
no
it.
firewall. It was
That's
license
what earns
plates.
you the rat rod
Yeah.
title. Is
Yeah.
using
Dude,
the
we got
signs
back
for the
there and
floors.
it was unbelievable. It was pulled this out and it said Kawasaki on the top. I mean, they were just like
But they were coil.
they
Yeah,
were
they were
coilovers.
so-
Yeah, and it was sold as is, so you're pretty much screwed.
Ran when parked.
Ran.
Yeah.
Parked.
Ran. I'm surprised the thing actually ran. It
Carburetors
was
just need clean.
gnarly. Like the whole, he literally like built the frame and built it like on the ground flat, and then never flipped it to weld the bottom side of the
Yeah.
frame.
Oh.
So there were all these
Oh,
welds
geez.
on the top.
Those are if you're gonna do one side, at least do the bottoms.
Yeah,
That's
right.
where all the stress
It
is.
was gnarly. I could get you some pictures of that thing too. Like I can explain it to you, but if you see it, you're just like, oh my god. Like,
I should have been before,
Wow.
right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it
like
was
when that's when we first met, dude.
Yeah.
Man, that was a long time.
What year is that? When was
It's
that?
like 3 years ago now, dude. That was over 3 years ago.
yeah, it's longer than that.
Yeah. Crazy.
Look where we are now.
Look where we are.
All right, so I think it's a good transition
Yeah.
into our topic today. And this this topic that we're going to be talking about is actually Don and John are going to be talking a lot about. We are the.
Who's
Yeah.
Don?
Did I say Don?
Yeah, you said
Don.
Don.
Dom.
Dom.
Same
Dom
It's
and
It's all right,
John.
dude. You've only known me for 3
Don.
We're going to be talking about
Don't
Triumphs.
It just flowed so good. Don and
the
John.
Don John?
Don. Don
I'm
Draper.
an
Don
idiot.
Johnson.
So they're going to be talking a lot about some old Triumphs and just kind of how they work and
Well, if you've listened to this show before,
at least some
you
history
know.
of them.
Yeah,
we
we
have very
mostly
minimal.
talked about
We have some
Japanese
decent knowledge
bikes.
about Japanese
You guys
bikes.
talk. I have no idea. The Japanese stuff is way over my head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I listen. I'm like, oh god.
So we
All
talk
the Japanese
we talk a
stuff.
lot about Hondas and Yamahas and
Yeah.
Kawasaki's and stuff. Well, not so much Kawasaki's, but
You know, Kawasaki. No one really talks about Kawasaki. Even the new sport bike, Kawasaki's not really.
No,
I don't
they
care
just
for
don't
'em.
get as much.
They don't get as much press as
Yeah.
like as the Yamahas and
No.
Suzuki's.
I definitely think in at least like that 70s era of motorcycles, like Kawasaki's were at the bottom of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
Suzuki?
Which actually is
They were doing some really cool stuff, but they just
just never caught on.
no.
Really.
They did a lot of interesting bikes, but they just didn't. They didn't have as much success with their models as the other guys
and
did.
Suzuki is kind of not far ahead of them. As
Yeah.
far as that, a lot
But
of
Yamaha
and Honda.
definitely.
Those were the
Um,
big two for sure.
yeah.
The years were interesting.
It wasn't really till like later '80s that Kawasaki and Suzuki started really.
Kawasaki's never
Pumping
really been at
stuff
the
out.
top.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
never,
not
even
saying
now.
they've been at
Yeah.
the top, but I'm saying they started getting a little more popular, but never really.
Well, everything started to be a little bit more even keeled. But there's always, there definitely are ones that shine above.
Yeah, like the 250 Ninja.
yeah, Ninja
Exactly.
250.
I think we
Those
talked
are-
about that a little
But
bit.
yeah,
last
Those are
so
episode.
the
we
Thumper.
decided that we've talked a lot about old vintage Jap bikes and stuff, and a lot, Triumphs and English bikes are a big part of, old '70s motorcycles and that
Oh,
whole.
they were
60,
well
yeah.
Well, yeah,
that.
before
60s,
that.
yeah.
But I'm like, for being a vintage motorcycle podcast, we figured we should bring that in.
Giving we're giving ourselves a chance to learn as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since we know.
And these are our neighborhood experts.
Well,
So-
Allegedly.
allegedly, I was thinking about that on the way
see
over
what
here.
they say first
Within our-
before we decide they're experts.
I was
Within our network.
I was thinking about that on the way over here. I could take a Triumph motor apart and put it back together and not have any pieces left over.
That's
Yeah.
good.
All right,
That's
he's an
good.
expert.
That's
I'm an
good.
expert.
That's good enough.
Yeah,
That is
we could wire
above
them,
and beyond.
Because I don't think I can do that with any motor. So
troubleshoot them.
So I
Um,
guess we'll start off. I think it's been thrown around a few times already. Kind of the as far as like I assume it's broken down kind of in eras.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
unit,
Yeah.
pre-unit.
Right.
So when do you guys want to just kind of
give us the
maybe break it
overview
down
of
as far
popular
as-
models and what the year ranges, kind of what the important segments are.
So there's two different types of motors. They fall under the pre-unit and the unit construction.
Yep.
Pre-units started early 40s, mid 40s,
30. Well,
even earlier than that probably.
Well, from the beginning, I think they're
all pre-unit. When we say pre-unit, that's just basically the motors is separate from the transmission.
Yeah.
So you had a separate transmission run by a primary chain, just like a
just like
Harleys and
like
stuff
Harley
are.
big twins.
yeah, just like that. Just like how Harley has the Sportster motors.
Right.
That's their unit version.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, everyone kind of associates to like the Triumph with the Speed Twin, like,
Yeah.
So that's
That
came out in
confused
30.
me for the longest time before I really knew a whole lot about bikes, was seeing unit and pre-unit, and I was always like, what the hell
Yeah.
does that mean?
Yeah.
And then they switched the unit construction in 63 where they just put everything together.
Right.
Mm.
So, me personally, I like the pre-units better. The motor, it looks more traditional.
Is the motor like significantly, like the rest of the motor, significantly different? between
No,
those?
if you look at the parts, especially the internals, it really hasn't changed even when it went from pre-unit to
Right.
unit.
Yeah, you
Right.
could split. Like, remember Ian Barry did that one?
You can
Triumph,
actually.
you could split a unit motor.
A lot of the parts are interchangeable.
Can you use a unit transmission and a pre-unit?
No.
Like
No.
the internals, the transmission are not compatible?
I
I wouldn't assume so.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
You
I
kinda
have.
have to restrain to on the unit to the tolerances that case can handle.
Right.
Yeah,
Where you have a
I've
little bit more
seen-
freedom.
I've seen a guy take a unit 5-speed because the later units came with 5-speed transmissions
Mhm.
and stuffed it into a pre-unit 4-speed case. But there's a lot of modifications you had to do
Mhm.
to
Well,
get it
that's
to fit
sweet.
into there.
Got
You
it.
had to change the gear, like
Yeah,
the
there's
gears
no
and stuff.
kit for that.
Yeah, you have to be. Yeah, and like Ian Barry, the guy who's the Falcon guy, he took a unit motor and cut the transmission off and made it a pre-unit motor.
Oh,
Mm.
interesting.
But that was all that dude is like a whole other.
Yeah,
Does
I hear they're
the
not doing
transmission
but
case or unit, I suppose, does it just bolt to the back of the
it's all
crankcase?
It's all built into it. So it's kind of like how Japanese bikes are.
No, on the
for
pre-unit.
pre-unit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are
the
they
pre-unit?
two entirely separate
Entirely
pieces
separate
that are
pieces,
bolted
yeah.
together?
They're not even bolted together.
Oh,
so
they're not
they're
attached.
Separate. They bolt separately to the frame, and the only way they're attached is with the primary. So the primary chain.
Is there a chain cover? Like, is the chain housing? The chain's not exposed.
No,
I
you
don't
have
think,
inner and
right?
outer cover.
Okay, so
on the
there is a
primary.
separate cover that,
Yeah.
that ties the two together
Yeah.
to cover the chain.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Good to know.
And is it so would the clutch basket be connected to the transmission?
Part of the transmission, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like a Harley.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a big twin Harley.
Right.
You have the motor and then you have the separate transmission.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, got
It's
it.
pretty sweet having them apart. Too.
That's got to be nice.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
because I mean we were just on the 55 we were doing. It's like
You can kind of
It was-
isolate if you have an issue with
Yeah.
the transmission. You don't have to get into.
Yeah,
You don't have
because
to
it's
get it all
scary.
Right.
It's scary opening up a bottom end.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just.
I mean, Triumph's made them. Even the units are kind of easy because they're together, but they're still separate within them.
Mhm.
So even the units have a primary and a primary chain, and
Right.
it's
All
ki-
different
it's
fluid.
still separated. So if you need to get into the transmission, you just open the transmission. part.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
Yeah, then you got all your different
different
fluids
different,
too.
Yeah,
It's not
there's
like
different
the Japanese.
different portions and
Well,
whole
it's
different
got-
fluids.
Yeah.
So like
Oh.
a unit construction
Wow.
motor has 3 different fluids in it
Mhm.
Wow.
for one motor.
Yeah, and it's a little bit kind of. It can be a little safer too if something fails in one thing, you're not out both.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So why did they change that then?
To make it simpler. If you look at a pre-unit motor, you have the interaction between the motor and the transmission. You have a lot of different flexing, and there's throughout the years they changed the way the transmission was mounted in the frame. So they went from different chain tensionings to different mounting ways to kind of stiffen up the transmission. Because even mine's an earlier pre-unit, so there's a lot of flexing. Like there's a lot of lateral play.
Mhm.
So when you like
Keep
give
your
it-
mic right in front of your face when you're doing that.
when you give it
I'm
gas,
watching it dive.
the transmission wants to slide.
Mm.
So it's like
Got it.
Right.
That torque
Yeah,
of
and
the
they
chain.
kept throwing
Right.
more power. I mean,
Yeah, and there's more and more power. So-
they switched to, because even in 62, before they went to the units, that was the one only year they switched to dual down tubes
Yeah,
in the front because the Bonneville
the
was
motors were getting
pumping
so
much
powerful, and
power.
the guys were getting so crazy with the bikes that when they would get into turns, the frames were flexing
Mm-hmm.
because it had a single down tube.
Yeah.
Was that
They-
like a common upgrade to like stiffen the frame, or like was there a way to like strengthen the transmission mount or
Well,
something
they-
to
yeah.
combat that?
Well,
They only ran the dual down tubes that 1 year, which fixed it with the pre-unit
Yeah.
problem. But then once they switched to the unit construction, that pretty much eliminated
Got it.
all that extra play in between
Yeah.
there, and then they went back to the single.
Got it.
Yeah, and
single
those
frame.
Interesting.
bikes were very popular back in the day too to run twin engine drag bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
those
it's
are cool.
probably influenced a lot of
The pre-units were because you had
because you
two
could
separate
separate,
motors,
yeah,
and the transmission was
you could
separated. from
parallel
them.
them easily without
Yeah.
having
Right.
to go through one
Got it.
transmission
Right,
to transfer
right.
to another transmission.
cool.
And then you're only running one gear in those too.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
have so much torque.
Yeah.
On the drag bikes, at
The
least.
drag
Not
bikes
like
have
the,
one gear in the
the
transmission.
speed, land speed bikes are a little bit different, but
Maybe this might be. Well, it's not really off topic. Wasn't it like a common build to like put the Triumph motors in a Norton frame or something like that?
You're talking
It
more
was-
so like
There's
the
some
yeah,
name-
Tritons.
the feather bed.
Yeah.
Featherbed frame.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like the awesome frame for
right.
the time? And
yeah,
then
they were all
the Triumph had the better motor.
They were all brass braid, like they really flexed
Mm-hmm.
and
When you look at
Yeah.
like a lot of the English bikes, a lot of that stuff's not interchangeable,
But
but
similar.
it kind of is.
well,
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
BSA and Triumph when they went
Well,
to
they all
oil and
got-
frame, they had the same frames and stuff.
Mhm.
What
So
did they
it's-
do on the? Why was it called a featherbed frame?
I think it was because it was. I'm not actually.
I think it was
positive.
because it was light.
It was all brazed. I know that. Like they're all hand built frames.
Yeah.
and they were brazed with brass instead of just welded in there. And then I think they
I'm
were
not sure.
a lighter.
Was it just better geometry than the Triumph frames at
Yeah.
the time?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like the race frame.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they all merged too. Like before Triumph went bankrupt, I think it was like '84. It was like Norton Villar's Triumph, I think, or something. So it had like when they were making the Triton, which was the Triumph and the Norton stuff. You know, it was all, that's when they were the same company.
Gotcha.
Got it.
So they were kind of just
had the big
cross,
parts and they could just
right.
just
pull from.
The forks are the same and
Right.
the wheels are the same. And all that
So
stuff.
how does Triumph do their? This is something that I don't know at all. How do they do their model naming? Like,
Okay, this
we
is
know
good.
like the CB. You know, like we could hear the names for Japanese bikes and think of the model series or like
Back
what
in the
type
day,
of bike it is. How's that
like
work?
when
for
you
Triumph?
had when the T110 came out in 54, 55. They called it the T110 because it would go 110 miles an hour. That was like that's why they named it that.
Yeah.
And then you had the T120. That's the Bonneville. That's the twin carb. It went 120 miles an hour. So that's where they came
Were
up
these
with the
all
names.
twins?
They're all the motors are all basically the same. When you went from different models, like you have the base one was called the Thunderbird, the 6T. That was an iron head motor,
Low compression.
lower compression. It had smaller valves. That was like the touring. Like the guys would just cruise
They
around.
built it to compete with the American market
Yeah.
Got it.
for Harley, and, you know.
Just a chill bike. You know, it had
Yeah.
like 35, 32 horsepower or something.
Right.
Like that. And then you stepped it up. You had the T110. That one had larger intake valves. It had a bigger carburetor. It had different magneto. So it was kind of like the sport version. So
And these are for the 650s.
The
too.
T110, did that come in different model names like Bonneville and Triton?
No, the T110 was the T110.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That was the model.
That was the model. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Is
that-
there a letter designator for a Bonneville?
The
that-
T120.
T120. And then,
Sorry. I mean,
Go ahead, good.
And then later it was the T140.
Yeah.
But it was
Still
still
a Bonneville.
It was still the Bonneville.
But then when you look at when you went into the unit bikes, they would do like the TR6S or the TR6C or the TR6RR.
Gotcha.
You know, so basically what they did, they had like a scrambler version, which was like an off-road kind of
Right.
like an enduro style that had like high pipes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they had like a road version that had road tires
Right.
and low pipes. So
And they were all single carb.
single carb. The bike was pretty much the same except for
And what CC
the
motor?
pipes. All 650s.
650.
All 650.
Yeah.
But then they did on the 500s too. You can get like mine that I had was the T100C, which was actually like the scrambler
Right.
version. It had the lower gears in it.
Did
And
the smaller motors have a different name for the model?
it's the T100.
T100s.
All the 500s are the T100s.
Oh,
And
got
then
it.
they had what was big back in the 60s and stuff was the T100Rs, which was like guys would take the T100s and like turn them into like full race bikes. They did do
Right.
cams and dual carbs and stuff. Like Triumph even had
Head
a
porting, I'm
parts.
sure. And
Triumph had like a parts kit you can buy. That was like the race kit.
The TT.
They turned it had like pipes and had dual carbs and had different head and like it turned your basic T100
Yeah.
into like
so
this
that
badass
was
race bike.
pretty much like a factory upgrade.
Factory upgrade, right?
Okay.
Back in the '60s, Triumph was really big into like factory race teams. So like they had
Right.
they had a bunch of like they'd sponsor a bunch of race teams. Like that's when dirt track was really big back
Yeah.
then.
Right.
And it started like even in the 40s too. I mean,
Yeah.
that was when all that first stuff. I think it was. Well, they ran originally. They came up with the Triumph. The motors would run during World War II when all that stuff busted out. They were selling motors to run the generators for whatever, and those motors actually had aluminum heads, so they'd run super cool. Well, then after the war, someone figured out slapping the aluminum heads
head,
on
right.
the bike.
Got it.
Like before the factory even like was putting
Yeah.
this out, and then after that they actually made the GP model, the Grand Prix Triumph from the factory with the aluminum head.
heads.
They ran it. You could buy it until they ran out of the surplus
stock.
of it.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
They didn't make them after that, but whatever surplus they had,
Right.
they ran them until they ran out.
I bet those are that's it's like a gold mine.
Big
item.
money. Big
Everybody
Yeah.
wants those
Big
things.
money.
Somebody just popped up with one of those on Instagram. The dude actually lives up in Fallbrook.
No way.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he got one. He said he's got it. He said it's the whole aluminum motor, and he said it just weighs nothing, and he can just pick it up like with one hand. And it's
Yeah.
just
Wow.
super
Big
gnarly. Yeah.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
So that R edition was that kind of like a selective thing, like say like a Copo, like Camaro kind of thing
You could
would be, or
It was like
Was
like
it
a box. You would you buy this, and it came with everything to
Yeah, it
convert your
wasn't
bike
done
into
like
Okay.
from the
You
factory.
couldn't buy it like that
Gotcha.
from
You
the
went to the
factory.
dealership, you got the new bike, and then you get like the box,
the R
with it.
package?
right?
Right.
And then you'd have to go.
I'm sure there
home
was
and-
probably dealers back then that would
That would
outfit the bike.
install it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
After they sold the
Okay.
bike, they would
Yeah.
install it all.
And there's a when you look at the Triumph stuff, there's so much that goes into like there's so much little things like they sold certain frames that had no stampings on them. They were made just for racing.
Mm-hmm.
Or they sold motors that had no serial numbers on them. They were just for racing. Or they
Yeah.
gave like, say, Dom had a race team back then. They would just give him a
They
bunch
did.
of motors that had no stampings on them.
Mhm.
These are for your race bikes. You know, so they did stuff like that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
kind of
Huh.
like it kind of sounds like they weren't really cataloging a lot of stuff. It was kind of like you just try a lot of things, and then like there's kind of selective stuff that was like produced out there, and then not necessarily like advertised.
Well, I mean, like
So like a lot is kind of like by word, like someone found out about this and it spreads that way, kind of thing.
I think what happened especially in the '60s is you had a lot of companies that started making like hop up parts for Triumphs.
Yeah.
because they were really popular. at
Yeah.
racing. So you had like Webco made a bunch of
Bates.
had made a bunch of race parts. So there was companies out there making parts just for Triumphs because they were so popular
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, I'd say that was kind of like the first, like, well,
Like
I guess
Tudor
that whole
kind of
era,
thing.
like
Yeah.
the 50s,
Yeah,
and, you know, that was like the golden age of like aftermarket parts.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, all those old Webco parts are so cool.
Yeah.
Like if you ever get a hold of those old catalogs,
it's kind of like the response to like the Cafe Racer.
Yeah,
where,
absolutely.
I mean, there
Same.
weren't performance parts out there, and it's almost the dealer catching on. The manufacturer
Right.
catching on.
Right,
Like, these
absolutely.
people are starving for performance.
Right.
So let's
and now
offer
look at
something.
how it is. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
just-
So
now it's like the stuff we look for.
So
Oh, man.
describe
dreams.
these, because I'm not familiar with these motors at all. How are they arranged? Where's the cam mounted? Like, describe how these motors are set up.
They're
parallel twins.
360s.
The cams are in the bottom of the case.
Right.
You have push rods that push.
Push rods, and then
There's a rocker box for
Rocker,
intake,
yeah.
rocker box for exhaust,
okay.
and there's valves on top. So there's push rods that push the valves, just like
So the bevel
Pretty much
drive
whatever,
thing,
Harley.
like we were talking about on the Kawasaki's, that was not a Triumph thing.
No.
that was
No,
Kawasaki's
that's just-
deal.
Yeah, the Norton Manxes, I think, that was kind of the big thing. They were bevel drive, and
Got
some
it.
of the other. Yeah, I'm not positive.
Yeah.
I know the Manx
For some
were.
reason,
Triumphs.
I
Yeah, definitely not Triumphs.
wrongly assumed that after seeing how the W650 was set up, I thought for some reason that's how the Triumph motors were set up, and they did that to like
No, that would be
be that
They
style
did
or
push
something.
rods like all the way up and through until they were done.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, interesting.
And when he's talking about push rod systems, as far that means that the cam is located on the bottom end of
Right.
of the motor, and then overhead cam, which later
Or just think
became
about like an
single
old
overhead cam.
V8 motor, like it's set up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Same way.
where the cam is on top of the motor, and then dual overhead, where there's two cams on top.
Did they at some point did they switch to? Well, I know they did, but when did they switch to making overhead cam motors? Like never in that engine family or that style. They
I
used
would say
overhead
not
cams.
until like the new.
No.
I don't.
the
Yeah, I
new
don't know if
generation.
not until
I know
not
out of
until
the
Triumph
twins,
turned back
no.
and
Okay.
came back in like the early 2000s or whatever.
Yeah.
all the pre-unit stuff from 40 to 70, whatever.
Got it.
84, I think.
All like those motors. You can look at it, you know it's a Triumph motor.
Right.
They all had the same characteristics. They all worked the same way.
Yeah, they didn't change,
They didn't really change.
like at all.
The only time that even the 500 and 650s all look really relatively the same. I mean, Triumph also had a 250. There was a single cylinder. That one even kind of
Yeah,
shared
we've got
some of the
a
same.
Yeah.
we've got a 59 Cub.
Cub, yeah, the Cub,
the
yeah.
shop.
Yeah, I had one of those. They're
Yeah.
cool.
This has got a seized piston.
Yeah, like
seized
the
motor,
big change
but-
with that, like those were always a unit motor. Like those were never a pre-unit
Yeah, those
motor. And then
were
like I
pre-units.
think the one you guys have is it's got the distributor version with the little distributor on
Yeah,
top.
earlier,
Whereas
yeah.
like I had a 63 and it was like how you would see every other stator inside
Mhm.
the case.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I mean aesthetically, like I mean, a lot of like some of the internals change on them and stuff, but
Yeah, like
they all
when you
the
look at
same.
one of the big things Triumph did, even when it went from pre-unit to unit, was they changed the way the charging system worked. The earlier ones, they had what's called a dynamo. It's really rudimentary Lucas electronics, if you can even use the term electronics.
Yeah.
That's how it ran the lighting systems.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys know anything about,
It's like a car alternator.
Did they not run batteries on any of those?
They did run batteries,
originally?
yeah.
They did?
they work better with batteries in the system.
Right.
You can get them to work without a battery.
But the ignition system did not run from the battery.
The ignition system and the charging system are totally different systems.
Got it.
Up until the units became, they integrated them in the units, but pre-units had a separate magneto, it ran the spark plugs, and the dynamo or alternator that ran the lighting. So, like when you look at, there are differences in the pre-unit motors as far as the lighting systems go. They got rid of the dynamo, which was kind of like didn't really. If you were riding somewhere and it was going to be dark, you might want to be nervous about getting home because who knows if it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They changed it to a little bit more reliable, more conventional kind of
Just the stuff inside
stator,
the case.
a magnetized stator with a. I don't. It's still magic how that stuff works to me, but it was internal. It was all contained. And it kind of worked a little bit better.
Inside
Now,
the
is
motor case?
Just like how every other
inside the
motor
primary
stuff.
case, yeah.
Got it.
Now, is there was it a popular thing to do as far as because I know at least in like Triumph cars or a lot of British cars, you would get rid of the Lucas and put in Bosch.
Yeah.
So
is
is that
Lucas as
something
bad as
that-
the
John knows
reputation?
about this.
I have
John's
a-
actually got a British car.
I have a British car too. I have a '73 MGB. It's a fantastic car.
I love those.
Lamb.
It has
They're
not
really
has
cool. I
not
like those a lot.
has done me well.
We're trying to
for
get
the-
him to sell it for like
for
years
the
now.
10 years or how many years I had it. But anyway, no, Lucas is it pretty much for
Okay.
the Triumphs. There are you can ditch the old style rectifier regulators and get a self-contained solid state. I mean, there's a few companies that make
Like the combo, like regular
combo
rectifiers.
deal.
Yeah.
That's like the main upgrade you can do.
Were they single-phase systems or three-phase systems?
Well, you
I have
said
no
there's
idea.
2 wires coming out.
Two
of
wires.
Them, so
Oh,
it'd be
so
a single
single-phase.
2 wires, I think, all the way up until yours was 2 wires. Your
Yep.
500 was 2 wires. I think that might be 2 wires all the way through.
Damn, then I've already got
Yeah.
parts in stock that I could make work for those. I need to look into that.
Yeah.
There's I think 2 or 3 companies that make them,
Yeah.
and they're not really reliable.
But what it
So-
sounds like is it has a capacitor built into it as well.
They have ones that had battery eliminators built into them,
Into the regulator.
into the regulator.
Yeah.
However, some guys still
well, that's
run a
something you could
capacitor.
add on
You
easily.
can just add on,
Very
yeah.
easily, yeah.
Some guys still run a capacitor just because it gives you a little extra. If you have like
But
electronic
you said
ignition or
that
something.
Gotcha.
the regulator like you have on that bike out there
Yeah.
has a cap built in, right?
I think so.
And you said it was like this big?
It's super small. Yeah.
Yeah, so in that case, it has to have a tiny capacitor because the electronics in there, if it's a solid-state regulator, are going to take up, half of that housing. And so that small of a cap is so small that there's no way you could efficiently run your lights and stuff
Oh
off of
no,
it.
they'd die.
See what?
Whenever you come to a stop, like the motor's got to be cranked up, and then
Well, yeah. When you're at a stoplight, you can hit the throttle on it, and then the lights like pulse.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah.
I need to look into that. I should build parts.
Well, you were telling me that
I probably
you
have
looked-
3/4 of the stuff on the shelf to make a nice system for that.
Yeah.
You were telling me that you were looking into making like the bullet style.
Yeah,
regulator
I
rectifier
did. I
combos,
already did
but
the
with all
CAD drawing
solid-state
for
parts.
that years
Yeah.
ago with the guys from Trophy, and we never finished the project. But I started on that a long time ago because what they wanted basically was the little cone bullet style regulator housing that went up front.
Yeah.
They wanted
With the
to-
fins on it?
Yes,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they
I
wanted
love
to
those.
make
Yeah,
those.
it's something they didn't have to
to-
spend time on, but they did.
Yeah.
No, they were awesome, but they didn't use them on the newer bikes, on the new Bonnevilles, and they use a standard 3-phase permanent magnet setup. And what the guys wanted was basically to replace the rectifier, which looks like standard Japanese rectifier, a little square box
Yeah.
with fins on it. They wanted to basically mount the same electronics in the cone housing. so you could easily swap the part out, but put it
To
up
have that
front,
throwback look.
and have that look of the old style.
Would all that fit into that small space?
Yeah, I already designed the whole thing. I just never built it.
Huh.
That would be cool.
All the work's already done. I moved on to other stuff and never finished it. So, but yeah, because I went over there to Trophy and grabbed a couple of their old, like, I assume 60s or 70s regulator housings. So I've got all the dimensions for it.
Yeah, that
and
would be
it's no
kind
problem.
of, because now, I mean, the regulators and rectifiers you see now, they're not cool looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all generic. Like I hide them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hide 'em,
Yeah.
Just hide them up.
If you made something that was like a throwback part that looked cool,
Yeah.
And it's modern and
Yeah.
and it
solid
works,
state
and it works,
part.
yeah.
Well, I
That'd be
built
cool.
it around the exact same internals of the square regulators that I use for the Japanese bikes. Like, the electronics package inside is identical. I just made the same size gap inside the rounded housing. I mean,
I would
nothing
be
to it.
into one of those.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I need to go back and finish that. I probably should.
So what about frames? And like, I know they had like the oil and frame for a while, and they, like what's the deal with that?
The oil and frame it came out in 70, and it was basically they thought if they did the oil and frame, it would balance like the weight better on the bike. And it absolutely
It
did.
turned out to be a disaster.
It didn't
Because
do
of the
anything. It was
problems?
exactly
Yeah.
the same.
Because liquid sloshing around is always a good way to
Right.
balance.
I guess
And
they
there's-
figured if they ran it right down the middle, that it would stay.
There's
even.
always issues. If you get one of those now, there's always issues with those things leaking.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I think Rob's
So
got
no
that
one wants
one.
them.
Yeah,
but
well, yeah.
Rob's got one.
Those
on
only
frame that's
lasted
good.
1 or 2 years, I think.
They never
Yeah,
put
the
them in
red
the
one,
500s.
Rob's red Triumph.
Yeah,
is-
that's
It's
an
oil
oil
and
frame.
frame, yeah.
That one, but he had to buy a whole new frame for it. Like
'Cause
he
it
bought the
leaked.
bike,
It was
because it
awful.
What
leaked everywhere.
happened? What happened to that little black Triumph that Rob scored like a year ago, or
The black one
maybe it was black. It was like just this little
was that
tiny.
was mine probably.
No,
Did he have a Cub at one point?
No,
no.
my bike originally I bought my Triumph from Rob. It was a running black Triumph.
Oh, your 500.
The 500.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what it
A
is.
lot
But
of
that was a while back.
A lot of the Triumphs that are floating around came from Rob.
Yeah, Rob.
Rob is just like
He like
He's
finds
smart,
them.
man. He's
the
getting
buy
those
and sell.
things. Getting those things before they're hot.
And then so like, what about? I mean, I know that it would take me a couple times to proficiently ride a Triumph. with
Oh,
the shift being on the right,
yeah.
brake on the left.
yeah.
You know, like so it was like, I'm guessing it was like that from the start up
All the way
until
through.
was
They
there a
did it-
certain
well,
point where
70
it swapped?
They made the American regulations made Triumph. That was like one of another big things that kind of like pushed them under even more. They had to redesign to switch it to the left side shift. I think it was in 75. We mandated that all motorcycles coming into here had to have the shifter
On the left.
back on the left side.
Really?
So they had to redesign. Yeah, so I think it's like 75 to 84 or 74 to 84, something around mid 70s.
Yeah.
They all are on the left side, but yeah, everything else is all right side.
So
Shift.
on those same bikes, but that stayed in Europe, did they stay right side shift, left side
You know,
brake?
dude, that's a good question.
Question.
They might have, because if they had to produce less of them.
That could be why they went under. They
Well, I mean, Honda
they do.
they just destroyed Triumph. They couldn't.
yeah.
There's no way that once that 750 Honda that 4 came out,
Yeah.
dude, there was no way Triumph could make a bike that could be that fast
cheap.
and cheap.
Mhm.
You know, that
Right.
cheap. I mean, they were cutting them in half, and they just
Yeah, back on the right foot shift. I was talking to this old guy, and he what was it? I think he was an old racer, and
I've heard this. I think I've heard this before.
yeah, or we were talking to him, and I said, "So what's the deal with the right foot shift?" And he's like, "Well, we're going around the turn
Yep.
on the dirt at 100 miles per hour. You're not going to be able to, with your left foot down on the ground.
Yep,
you're not going to
I
be able
heard
to
that.
shift with your left with your.
And that's
your
why
left foot
Triumphs did
digging
so.
on it.
So they did so much better than the Harleys and
Mhm.
stuff because they were able to shift in the turns. And all that. I've heard
Exactly.
that before.
Yeah, I was like,
Wow.
yeah,
Kind of cool.
Yeah,
they were smart.
I wouldn't even have thought about that.
yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but are you only going around the turn one way?
yeah, you're not
Mhm.
going
Yeah,
on the
circle-
turn on
circle-
the
circle-
street.
we do
Oh,
circle
yeah,
track.
yeah.
That dirt
It's
track.
just all you're doing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, on a flat
Yeah.
track.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just all on turn.
You know, one thing that Triumph did too back in during the pre-unit time, I think it was a 1 year, maybe 2 year option, something called slick shift. which when you... It was actually banned in racing because it kind of gave it an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
But when you press down on the shift lever to actuate up and down to shift gears, it would also actuate the clutch automatically.
Oh wow!
There's like a little ramp with a bearing in it and stuff.
Right.
You only use the clutch first gear.
You only
right?
use the clutch when you're standing still. So dudes would like power shift through the gears, while like Harley dudes and stuff were still they still had to use their clutch.
Right.
Kind of like a
That's
well, that's the
that's
thing with
interesting.
racing. I mean, it's you come up with something innovative, and they'll find a way to ban it.
they banned it.
Yeah, either everybody does it or they outlaw it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called the slick shift.
Don't you have one of those? You have two of
Yeah,
those?
a couple of those.
John's got two of those, I think, sitting around in the garage.
I got funny story.
Is that something you can upgrade on any of them? Like you could add that system?
You know what?
Or you had to have the whole thing built.
The
up?
transmission itself is identical.
Yeah.
There's only a couple pieces that are different. So if you had those other pieces, you could switch over a regular transmission.
Got it.
Easily.
So would you still have a? Well, I guess you still have a clutch because you're saying if you're
You still have a
gone
clutch,
from neutral
yeah.
to first.
you still have a clutch.
But what about like? Could you still clutch between?
You
gears
could,
if
yeah.
you wanted to.
You could if you wanted to, yeah. So the clutch
A
was
lot of
still
people have them, and then they just
a lot of clutch.
they don't like them, and they
Guys
actually
didn't
just
like them,
run
so they got rid of them.
which is lame
Yeah.
because they're so sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine just like
The Bonneville I'm building now is
upshift
gonna
and
have it.
downshift
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
like while concentrating in a turn. You know, I mean, you don't have
Yeah,
every time you're
exactly.
pulling that
It's one less
clutch,
thing
to
you're
think
pulling the
about.
bar. You know what I mean? So if you're not pulling the bar,
That's like those Recluse clutches. I've had those on dirt bikes that work the same way, and they're badass.
Is it based on like centrifugal force?
Yeah, they replaced the basket, and it functionally it works the same way. I mean, you wouldn't, from what you describe, you wouldn't notice a difference, I guess, from the way it works. I think probably mechanically it works differently, but it's pretty sweet, especially when you're riding like for trails or even motocross. It's awesome because you can just slam the hell out of them. You never have to clutch. It's pretty cool. I could see that being a popular thing.
yeah, they're cool. You got to get one of those on one of the bikes.
Well, the Bonneville I'm building is going to have a slick shift
Yeah.
on it.
Oh, you're gonna put
that's
that?
cool.
You're gonna put it on
Yeah,
that.
with a heel toe.
Yeah,
you just like stomp down on the
Yeah.
heel shift.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
nice.
That's
Yeah.
rad.
That's gonna be
That
cool.
thing will be sweet.
Yeah, I've got one more, I guess, because I'm familiar that I believe Triumph was one of the first that did the triple, and they've kind of been one that's stuck with it. Like
Yeah.
it's
Even
I know
now,
the-
they used to have
Yeah,
triple.
like
yeah,
I know
the street triple and speed triple. Awesome.
I mean,
bikes.
I'm a huge fan of the XS750 triple and
Yeah.
the 850 that we're working on now. Yeah, they're just like, it seems like the total package for me. I mean, you have the torque from the displacement, and you also have the revs. So it's kind of like a really good
compromise.
When did they start doing those?
70s,
I'm not really sure
late
about
60s.
Yeah,
What
because
were-
I've only seen one Triumph triple.
What were the
that was
triple
like a
models called?
Survivor from the 70s.
Was there a special name for them?
Was that the Trident?
It's the Trident, yeah.
Yeah,
Trident.
yeah,
Trident,
that's
that's
what it
right.
was.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they ever really caught on.
No, not the Triumph. Well, not back then they did.
And even now, like, kind of everyone.
And they're not as
just
cool.
turns their nose up.
Yeah, they're not as cool as
68 was the first year of it.
As,
68 to 75.
the twin version. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They
Yeah, I mean,
There's not like
I mean, it's-
750
you go
cc.
against the grain that much. Like people
Yeah.
think like there's
Right.
I think even now, like how popular Triumphs are, especially in this like in the SoCal area,
Mhm.
there's like a following for Triumphs and stuff. Even within that group, the triples aren't even cool.
I don't know
Yeah.
if, like, the
Right.
I think they're
parts,
cool. Like
too.
the head fins and everything on it
Yeah.
are just badass.
They're
Well,
really
yeah, they
cool.
look just like the motor just mashed together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
Honestly,
really
I don't know
familiar.
anything
Yeah,
about
I mean,
them.
I've only seen one, and I knew about it when I saw it,
Yeah,
and so I can't imagine it being like kind of a popular.
yeah. It's not as far as I know, it's
But-
not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they did too well, but as sales, but I don't know as performance.
I'd be
I think they're
curious
like
to
60
see
horsepower.
if it's what if it's something that since there probably are a rarity, but if there's value to it, but because it's not necessarily really desirable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
I see them on Craigslist every now and then, and
Yeah.
they're only like
But
like
yeah,
$3,000, you know, for
Not
a
nearly
runner.
popular, yeah.
I'd be interested in possibly tinkering around with one of those. I mean,
yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm
to
into
mess
weird
with.
things anyway, so might as well.
Yeah, you should get one, and we'll come mess on it
Yeah.
for you, so we don't have to.
I don't know if I'm quite ready for Triumph territory. though.
Yeah, it's a whole new game.
It's not that
listen
bad.
to you guys talking about the Japanese stuff and looking at some of the Japanese. And I've worked on Japanese bikes before. I have a 73 CB550 that's not done, and I've had it for 8 years now.
It's sick.
Yeah.
Got a turbo
It's sick.
on
It has a turbo. It has
Oh, wow.
an
Yeah,
ARD
it's
ignition
nice.
on
rad.
it. It's pretty
That's
dope.
awesome.
It was
That's
running
awesome.
good for a while.
It ran good until I took it apart.
It's got a mag.
There's way too many
Sick.
pieces on it. It's got too many pistons. It's got overhead valves. It's got chains that drive the stuff. The reason I like Triumph so much is
Yeah.
because they're so simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could take a Triumph motor apart and lay it on your workbench, and you have like, not even exaggerating, you have like 20 parts. You're not including the hardware. You know, there's
Yeah.
not a
Right.
lot of pieces to it,
Mhm.
and it's
They
the
just get the
wiring.
wrap because they leak.
Wiring is simple. If you do them right, they don't leak.
And
that
they don't.
much.
Yeah, if you do it
Yeah.
right.
They're just, and they look cool.
They do look cool.
You know,
they,
they
that's,
look
they're
They
just-
sound good.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
You know?
uncle has a Bonneville. I want to say like 68 or 69, and it's really nice. The thing has been completely restored. Trophy down in San Diego did it.
Mm-hmm.
They're
and-
rad. They
and,
do cool stuff.
Yeah, I think they know their shit. They're also total assholes. I hate
Oh.
that place. I used to live right next to there, so I would go in there all the time. Before I was even into bikes, I would just stop by there, and they're just dicks.
Really?
In fact, I almost bought. Yeah. Okay. Listen to this. So the first new bike I ever bought, I wanted to buy a sport bike in college, and I was dead set on getting a Daytona 675, the
Mhm.
triple sport bike.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I also was into
The new one, by the
GSXRs.
way, is ridiculous. It's awesome.
This was this was late 06 because I bought an 07 bike, so it was like October 06. And I went into Trophy. I had a cashier's check for $12,000, I think, approved, and I was ready to buy. And I go into Trophy, cash in hand, check in hand, like ready to buy this thing. And I didn't even want to test ride it. Like I just wanted to like sit on it and make motorcycle noises.
Yeah.
And the dude, the two sales guys in there were such assholes. I mean, they basically just like talked down to me and were just like, "You don't know what you're doing. Like, why are you in here just to look at this shit?" Like, they were so unbelievably rude that I walked out and bought a GSXR from Fun Bike Center. I couldn't believe it. Like, I was totally into Triumphs and ready to roll, and these guys completely ruined it for me.
Huh.
And I always regretted it because I kind of wish I would have bought that bike.
Yeah.
But it just, God, fuck it. God, these guys made me so mad.
Well, in their defense, I don't know. I've never really met the guys, but I don't
Look
think
up
this
their
is
Yelp-
really,
look
I don't
up
think
their
it's
Yelp
really
reviews.
A podcast that just beefs on people. But
I'm not doing it
it's-
like for fun. I
Oh,
literally
I know.
had this experience.
But in
And-
their defense, I mean, I know from personal, at least, experience that working on bikes can be very frustrating, especially even old
Oh, yeah.
bikes. And after a while, frustration can just change a little bit about how you view things.
Yeah.
So,
Wait,
I mean,
from
I would,
whose
I
point
would
of view?
definitely-
Mine or theirs?
What's that?
I don't get what you're saying.
I'm just
Mine or
trying
theirs?
to just take a look at both.
No, but they
a
were
non-biased
they were
look
sales
at
they were
things.
sales guys who have one job, which is to sell you a motorcycle, and
Okay.
they effectively like did
So
not
long
sell
story
me a
short, you had a
motorcycle.
bad experience
Yeah.
with Trophy Bike.
Well,
Anyways,
then
whatever.
I can't say much. But.
Okay, back to my original story. I was just a tangent. I always get mad when I think about that. It pisses me off because I really
Really?
wanted that bike. But anyways, so my uncle's got this really nice Bonneville. He still has it, and I remember him saying because he had bought this bike originally before it was rebuilt in nice shape, but it was all original, and the thing leaked everywhere. Like I
Yeah,
always
absolutely.
remember that it leaked everywhere in the garage. He sold it. It ended up back at Trophy. Like, I don't remember the whole story. Long story short, a couple years later, he goes back and buys the same Bonneville back from them. And I remember he said, he still has it to this day, the thing has never leaked a drop since he bought it back from him. And he said that they spent hours and hours and hours machining the cases
Yep.
to get
Yeah.
it, like, absolutely perfect. And once they did that, like, they're, like, awesome. And the thing never leaks a drop.
It took me a year to get my bike to stop leaking.
Yeah.
And
That's-
because of that same problem,
Well, it's
like
there's one leak, and then you figure out that leak, and then another leak happens, and you
Yeah.
figure out that leak, and then another leak happens, and you figure that one out. So there's
right.
like a progression of
Split cases
everything.
too.
Everything, once you figure one leak out, something else sprouts up. So
Yeah.
I have mine now where I can put it in my garage, and there's a little drop underneath of it, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know
you can live with that.
I can live with. I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
Now I know that is
It's a
something
quart of the
that,
oil under the one in my garage.
Yeah, yours is pretty bad.
especially
cardboard.
with older British things.
Things,
That,
My MG leaks all like crazy too.
Yeah, is that just something where maybe they didn't look so closely at tolerances?
I think it's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
kind of like their sand castings weren't really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
I think it was like they were the best at the time, and they worked really well. And if they leaked, they leaked. And then once
there was
the
real
Japanese
drive
market,
to kind
make 'em
of-
better.
Yeah.
Right.
came
I
out,
can
it was
definitely
like,
see
that.
oh
Okay.
crap,
Like
it's
just having
too
experience
late.
with British cars.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had to rebuild my MG motor at one point, and it was tits for like it didn't leak. The transmission didn't leak. Nothing leaked for like a couple of months, and I was pretty psyched. I was checking the oil to make sure it's out of oil in it.
Yeah.
The old saying, if it's not leaking, it's out of oil.
Exactly.
And then after I drove it for a couple hundred miles, and it started leaking again. So
Yeah.
it's just that's just what
Yeah.
British stuff
Yeah, and
is.
that was yeah, exactly. Like I know stories at least with Norton's, same thing. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
if it's not leaking,
You're out of oil.
You're out of oil.
Right.
Yeah. You're screwed.
It's true.
But,
Come look at my garage. It's true.
It's a mess.
It's leaked already.
I'll send some
done
pictures. You
leaking.
can put them up. I just
It's
have
done
this
leaking because it's out of oil.
huge piece
Yeah.
of cardboard, and
Saturated.
it looks like a lake.
It's a fire hazard in your
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. That's pretty well known. I don't know if we need to prove it. I don't think anybody's going to dispute
Oh
you
no,
on
the
it
picture's just good though.
That's kind of, you're just kind of an extreme case, I'd say.
But still awesome.
Well,
so.
send me pictures of anything
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got. I'll put them up there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll
Whatever
shoot
bikes
you.
you're working on, that one you got outside would be awesome to put up a picture of that.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
you
your car.
guys-
Send me some pictures of the car
what
too.
was
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
That
I'll get my
Del
old
Mar
bike
show?
too and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's everybody
it wasn't
always asks for
Concourse,
pictures
it
of
was
stuff
the,
we talk
yeah,
about.
for sure.
Always.
Actually, was that Del Mar Shark? Did they call that the Concourse Day?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
motorcycles
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
got,
like a concours d'elegance.
you got
of-
second, I think.
I got
on,
second the first year I showed that bike. And then
What-
next
what
next
was-
year we brought it back. I got first.
Yeah,
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
It was. I went to the show where you got second. I think that's when I first met you.
I think it might have been.
That's when you guys did that zombie ride, remember?
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah,
these fools
yeah,
walked in with face
With
paint
zombie
on
makeup.
into this concourse.
No,
And there's
I
all
did
these
it
fancy
not.
people there with like champagne.
Yeah.
and
Dave
stuff walking
did.
around.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like the Pebble Beach for motorcycles.
Right.
Yeah.
They show up
And
all
you're walking
haggard.
around.
And these dudes come in on these ratty CBs
Yeah.
in like
Nice.
cut clothes
Making
and
all
like
the
dressed like
noise.
zombies.
Yeah.
That's
I think
awesome.
they just let us in for free.
They
We showed up
did,
super
'cause it was
late
towards the end of the
anyways. They
day.
were, like scared of us anyways.
Dude,
but
that
That's
was
actually
so
a good show
funny.
if you want to go and look at pre-war motorcycles.
Yeah,
they're
there
super
was-
rare and
That
really,
was
really
super
rare.
awesome.
That
Just-
would be really cool.
There's a lot of
it's
that.
like once a year these bikes get pulled out of the collection.
Exactly.
When is
and they
the
all
show?
fired up too at the end, or most
Yeah.
of them was cool.
So
that one
awesome.
goes. It's
That's the one at Del Mar, right?
Del Mar
Yeah,
show.
Del Mar
It's been
Fairgrounds.
September, October time.
Oh, okay.
The last
Is that
few
what it
years, it's gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah.
The first year that I was in
Mm.
it, there was maybe I want to say like 60 bikes, maybe if that.
Got it.
The last year there was like 120 bikes. It's like
Oh,
doubled,
wow.
if
Yeah.
not more in
Yeah.
size.
Just pristine.
And it's
Really, really nice
gorgeous
examples
bikes.
of
Right.
nicely well done, restored.
anything from like old enduros to like
Super
board
nice.
tracks. You know,
To, like,
Oh, I think there was like a Thor.
Yeah.
Thor was there,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, and
The oldest motorcycle
Pope.
ever was there. It was like 1889 or something. The
Mhm.
guy
Oh,
had
wow.
was there, and he started up and like ran it and stuff.
Yeah.
there's
That's what they
some
do. The guys,
nice brush superiors.
yeah, super nice
Huh.
old pre-war
Just bikes that you will.
And like you said, dudes bring them out once a year, start them up that one time.
Yeah.
You can tell they've never been ridden because the tires are like
Right.
brand new.
Yeah.
But they just run them.
Right.
They're stored in climate-controlled rooms.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, there's one
Yeah.
guy there. His name's Jim Lanton.
Jim Latin.
This dude he owned like 20 of the bikes,
Yeah,
and he won like in
They kept
different
calling his
categories,
name.
and he kept winning. Best in, you know,
he's like a pretty well-known dude.
yeah,
like
he has cars and
Jay works on a bunch of his cars
and
and
bikes.
stuff.
But this dude has more money than
Yeah, his collection is supposed to be just incredible.
Yeah.
Though,
Yeah.
like the stuff that he has.
if you're into that kind of stuff, I guess.
yeah,
Mm.
well, yeah.
Cool. So we get any emails?
Yeah, I think so. Let me see.
Were you
There
gonna
was
say
some
something?
stuff we had to read.
No, pretty much what you're gonna say. I think, except that I didn't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna make something up real quick, but you get a better
Mind-melding.
response.
Like an
Yeah.
old couple, you just finish each other's sentences and stuff.
We get that a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
We get twins
So do
a
we.
lot.
Yeah, we've gotten it.
What's
at
the
least
beard?
3 or 4
Yeah,
times.
it's the
Beard.
beards. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're hiding.
can't see
You're
your
hiding a lot. Anyway.
cheekbones. Yeah.
Oh, this was a cool email. Let me read this. Oh, wait, I can't read it.
Why?
It's a secret.
What?
I'll tell you guys in a minute. I can't read it. Never mind.
Oh, now you have to read.
I can't read it on the show. I'll explain it to you in a minute. Let's see here.
Really
We got this
interested.
like really weird comment from this guy on the last show that said our guest star on the last episode was awesome and totally made the show.
Was it the guest star?
I have this really strong suspicion that it was my brother who posted the comment.
He was our guest
Yeah,
star.
he was just
okay,
an
great.
amazing guest star too. Let's see here. Well, I guess I don't think we have anything like really important to read, but there's just a couple like shorter emails of people saying that the carb tuning episodes were awesome. We've got a lot of feedback from that saying that it was really helpful and it was good.
Yeah, I was a little
info, so
nervous.
that's
I
cool.
haven't listened to it yet. I was a little nervous that there was so much information in that one that it was difficult
No, but
to
the feedback
follow.
that we're getting is that it was really helpful because you can go read about that stuff all day long, but hearing people like actually talk through it and describe it. So it's not like probably on its own, it's not extremely helpful, but if you've already done the research and got like a baseline information,
And then
listening
listen
to
to
it,
it.
It's like
fills
that.
in a lot.
made
Oh,
sense.
that's
It
what
made
they
sense.
mean, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it. It was you guys were pretty
Multiple
solid on
people
that,
that
yeah.
commented on that said it was really helpful.
Carb tuning is like a science.
Should do one on
Yeah,
ammo
I know.
cards,
On what?
It
Amels.
probably.
the British carbs.
British carburetors.
I've never even touched those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
No,
that'd be a
no,
good,
they're-
good
I
one
picked
to
up
do.
a couple I picked up one at that
State sale?
estate sale we went to.
Oh,
Dude.
my God,
But
the
then-
estate sale.
Oh
I
my
have
god,
dreams about
we should
that
talk
estate
about
sale.
that.
Okay,
for a hot
let's
minute.
talk about it.
Oh,
That
my
was
Ivan's looking for
probably
emails.
one of the best days.
That was the
of my
best
couple
life.
experience I
months
ever had in my
ago-
entire life.
A couple
Yeah.
months ago, Dom, John, Rob, and I went to this estate sale. That
Was
was,
it?
Well, you
Bob,
found it though,
yeah, I found it.
and
Well,
you texted.
okay, so some guy that I
This is awesome. Yeah, you got to
Some
set
dude-
it up.
some
I owe you a
dude that
case of
lived
beer
down
for
the
this, by the
street
way.
from
Yeah.
from me. I had met him a couple times through Craigslist, and he did the same thing I did, and we all do is just work on bikes and kind of sell them and flip them, whatever. And and I was talking to him for a little while, and then out of the blue, he texts me this link and says, "You're welcome," or "I can't make it, so you're welcome." And
I owe that guy a
opened the
case of
link,
beer, too.
and it's this estate sale listing for this old like Hall of Fame freaking racer.
It's legendary race.
Leg- legendary
we didn't know-
guy.
yeah, but we didn't really know, like at the time.
We didn't know
How
like
badass
who
the
he
guy
was
was.
or how badass he was. We just knew that he
Was
was
his
a
name
legendary
Bob,
racer.
Bob Hansen.
Bob
Yeah, Bob
Hansen.
Hansen.
Yeah.
So it was his
Rest
estate
in peace,
sale.
Bob.
He lived in Fallbrook, which is a couple miles east of where
And,
we
and
are.
it turns out, not to cut you off, but it turns out Fallbrook and Vista are like a melting pot for old dude racers.
Yeah.
Really?
There's a
Yeah.
lot of those dudes in there.
Oh yeah, I think
A lot of them.
Yeah, call us.
Don Perdone. He
Yeah,
was-
he's out there.
Yeah,
There's quite a few. So
Shops
they're,
in
they're
Vista.
old and they're like
Yeah.
ready to kick it.
Yeah.
So if you're anyone listening,
Let us know.
Yeah,
these
if
guys
you're
know
ready
these guys
to
know where they live,
let the
let us
youngsters
know.
get in on this,
But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, pass it down to the next generation.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's
right,
let's keep us
absolutely.
going here.
But yeah, so we go out to this estate sale, and we get there at 9.
Late?
And, yeah, we got there late.
John's
Late.
already there.
John was there. What time did you get
Okay,
there?
so Dom texted me. He's like, "Dude, there's a estate sale." I'm like, "Okay, I want to go." So he's like, "Oh, me and Rob can't go until X time."
We're
I'm
waiting
like,
for you.
We're waiting for somebody
Right?
to get back
Yeah,
from
yeah.
San Diego or something.
No,
I'm like,
I was home. We were waiting for
We were just
Rob.
kidding.
waiting for Rob,
had to
because
go
Rob
down
was down
to
in San Diego.
Yeah, he was coming back.
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
like,
his
I'm
idiot
just gonna
ass-
go check it out.
Yeah.
But like we weren't that's another thing too. We were just like
We were just
we weren't
cruising.
in
We were
any
like, oh, nobody's
rush.
gonna be there.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, okay. So
We were
John
wrong.
is
I go
like,
ahead
oh,
of
fuck
time.
you guys.
I'm
I'm
going.
going there. So
I get there. It was like a feeding. I got there right as it opened, 8 o'clock. It was like a feeding frenzy. It was like sharks in the water with chum, blood. People were ripping through this guy's stuff. Like, I felt bad for the dude. Like,
Yeah.
the dude's looking down from heaven, like, he's like thinking, these guys are fucking going through all my shit right now.
yeah.
And like, no respect. It was crazy. And then, like, parts, like rare parts, like, I got
Dude.
Triumph
Indian
shit.
parts. I got tons of
I
Triumph shit.
never seen an accumulation of rare parts,
in one place.
spot. Like this dude
It was
this
unbelievable.
dude Robert Hansen. He was the first American employee of Honda. Like he was the first one they hired,
Oh,
and he
wow.
ran the race team.
Ran their Honda
and
race
they
team.
won under like him. He won the Daytona 200 in 1970 with Dick Mann.
Oh,
So
man.
like after we're like looking this shit up on the phone,
Like
and we're
how
just like,
badass
oh
this
my
dude was.
god, like
Yeah.
this dude. And then he ran the Kawasaki race team too, up into the 7 Team Hansen.
And it turns out they had a pre-sale at this dude's house for like invited for like family
Oh,
members
yeah.
or people he knew.
Mhm.
And at that pre-sale, they got bikes that were like museum quality bikes.
He had
bikes that-
2 containers
Two
on the side
Wow.
of
containers
the
Oh,
full
those
of
containers?
race
Those 2
bikes.
empty containers
Wow.
were
No.
full
So
of bikes,
the
dude.
stuff we got,
Was
which
like
was
the
still
last
crazy badass, was like
The leftover.
The
the
Dude.
leftover stuff
So-
the other guys didn't even want. So I can't even imagine what this
Man.
dude had before we got there.
I can't even. Yeah, we
we talk about it now, and I'm like, I still get excited about it. And this was
Yeah.
like 4 months, 5, 6 months. I don't even.
we talk about this like every day, dude.
Dude,
like this
thinking
stuff.
back, like I should have just bought
Everything.
Just, between all of us,
Everything.
we should have just bought everything.
We said
Yeah.
the same shit every day,
because
dude.
how much money have you
Dude,
already made off the couple things?
dude,
you
I
could have
said-
paid for it all.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
I got a first year Bates or first or second year Bates leathers from the Los Angeles location, and it was stamped Bates, Los Angeles #2, yada yada yada, zip code, pillion pad, a champion pillion pad for the seat. I got it for $20, dude, and I went home. I stuck it on eBay. Well, first I tried to sell it back to Bates.
Yeah.
And I was like going to give him a sweet deal, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll give you $300 for it." I
Put it
took
on eBay. How long did it last on eBay?
Dude, it was on eBay for no shit 5 minutes, and
No.
and I put a buy it now price at $600.
Yeah.
and then I was letting the auction run. Dude, within 5 minutes, my phone goes bring. You know the eBay
$600.
alert thing.
Oh, wow.
$600, dude, gone like that in the snap of a finger.
Jeez.
Wow.
I got a set of Botger
Air
first and
cleaners.
second year Corvette air cleaners
No
that
way.
were sitting in there for like $3 a piece. I have one still, but I sold the other one for $300, dude.
Oh,
And then
man.
just plus the stuff that we kept. I got a BSA Golden Flash Factory 21. I got race plate, like race TT number plates for the thing. I got this dude's toolbox that say Robert Hansen,
yeah.
all his old stickers on. I have his workbench that I bought. Like, oh
of
my god!
stuff.
But like the kicker, this is the worst. All right,
This is the part that makes me mad.
it makes me so pissed that I did this because you got to realize too, like you were there, you were there. Your adrenaline is like pumping, and
Yeah.
there was so many people around you.
And then it got super overwhelming.
Dude,
Yeah.
it got so overwhelming because everyone's picking, and you're like trying to look for specific
And you're, like, hitting
shit,
shit.
like, and you get sidetracked.
But you gotta grab
I'm
it
looking
right
through
there.
this stuff, and God, you guys are going to. If you guys know what I'm talking about this right now, you're going to kill me. I'm looking through a box. I found this box, and it said Avon tires on it. And it was the 2 boxes, right? And there were two boxes, and it was just the Avon was blue. It
Yeah.
says Avon.
Yeah.
And then on each of them, it said TT. And I was like, okay. I opened it up. Dude, they were the fucking factory TT, like the aftermarket carburetors that we were talking about for that race kit. They're Amels.
Oh,
and they have
wow.
a separated float bowl on the side of it. They're gnarly. And I was like, I didn't know like how much the dude was going to charge me for like the stuff that I already had because I had a
Yeah.
huge box of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if I
$20
stick these in
for
there,
everything.
yeah, like literally the dude would have charged me $20. These things, and I set them back there, and I was like, oh, and then I left them. And then later I came back, and they weren't there again. And then I looked them up when I went home on how much these things are worth, dude. And what are they? I think it was like
They can go anywhere between $600 and $1,000.
$1,000,
Wow.
and they were
Yeah.
clean.
Oh, geez.
And there's a guy on eBay selling this stuff.
Yeah.
And I sent him a message. I'm like, dude, where did you get this stuff?
Fuzzy Red
Yeah.
Line. That's his
And he goes-
eBay name. I look at his
yeah,
shit every day.
He goes, oh, I went to this badass estate sale in Fallbrook and got all this shit. And I
Yep.
was like, dude, I was there. Where
Oh,
did you see
no.
that? He got more stuff. He got even crazier shit than
Yeah.
yeah.
he was there the same time I was there.
Yeah.
Dude, it was just like
Crazy stuff.
it was
Wow.
like
Wow.
if you're a motorcycle dude, it was like
It was
and especially
nuts.
British shit.
yeah, a lot of
like
British stuff.
it was like even
Damn.
though if he was a Honda dude, he had a ton of British
Ton of
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah. And
It
it was
would have been cool to like meet that dude and talk to him. And
yeah, like
Yeah,
after doing the
definitely.
research on him, he seemed like
Yeah.
this gnarly dude.
I almost went to that show, and I didn't want to get up in the morning.
Dude.
Damn.
I can't
Or to
believe
that.
I went
I'm
both
pissed
days.
that we
I
were
went
like
Saturday and
lollygagging around
Yeah.
that
Dude,
morning before.
I would have just gone me and you. Like
I
I was
know.
waiting for Rob to be a nice
Yeah.
guy. And
But I didn't
call him. I texted him like early, like 6 o'clock. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm down in San Diego. I'm on my way back." And then like It's like, all right.
Yeah,
I'll
can
wait
you
for
imagine if we got there even just like an hour earlier, dude? Like, think of the shit we got while we were there that was still left. I mean, I'm pulling $600 pillion pads out, and that's like the leftover.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine.
But there was a lot of
what
stuff
was
there too. If you didn't know what it was, you would have just
Yes.
you would just
Yeah.
look
Right.
over it.
Yeah.
I looked over tons of shit.
Like those
I
air
had no
cleaners that
idea.
Dom got.
Yeah.
He picked them
They're
up.
car.
He's like, what do you think these are? And I'm like, I don't know.
I knew they were
Dude.
car.
Are they for a boat? Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
We were like, I don't know, dude. Whatever. They're junk. And he's like, oh, I'll pick them up. They're like a couple bucks, and like $3 a piece. And we looked them up online, and they're like, dude, they're selling for like a G.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
for like
for
a
a
really
set
nice.
of them.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Wow.
But you got some killer stuff too. Like John got a bunch of you got all those Magneto
I bought
parts.
everything that dude had that was pre-unit,
Mm.
and I'm digging through this stuff.
Dude, I'm like so excited.
filling
I'm
a
like
box.
sweating
I'm
right
thinking
now.
to
just
myself,
fucking thinking
how much
about
is
all
this dude
this.
going to charge me for this shit? And I take my box up to him.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
I'm like,
though.
how much do you want? How much do you want for this stuff? And this old dude, who's supposedly the motorcycle expert,
Yeah.
looked through the box and he's like, "How's $20 sound?"
Yeah.
He's reluctant to tell me
See,
$20.
That's
I'm like,
fucked up, man.
I'm
That's
like,
really
you're breaking
messed
my
up.
balls, man.
I'm like, all right, man, $20.
So
All
then
right.
we're running back.
I'm gonna make another loop.
Yeah, we did multiple trips back.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
because then we got
Yeah.
our
Making
initial
sure we-
prices,
Yeah, right.
and it was
Yeah.
like, oh shit! It's
Yeah,
like I gotta
dude,
go back in
these
there.
guys are gonna
But I
deal.
think
And get-
where we failed was none of us really brought our boxes up until like we were getting closer to leave.
Exactly.
Right.
Like if we had got stuff and gone up and
Yep.
known it was gonna be $20, I would have bought
Yeah.
Everything.
I would have been like,
Rob's like, if you need money, I got you. You can pay me back. Because Rob
Yeah.
brought tons.
what
of
we
cash.
should have
Yeah.
did was like told everyone, hey, everyone, stop, get out of my garage. I'm buying everything in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm giving you $10,000 for everything in this
Yeah,
in this,
exactly.
in this
Yeah.
garage
That would've
right
been
now.
worthwhile.
Dude.
You got those
Crazy.
sweet 750 pipes.
Yeah, I got a Russ Collins like original CB750 pipe, and they wanted like $500 for it, and I got it for $100,
Wow.
and I could sell it right now for
Yeah.
more than that.
That thing is like
They're super
brand
clean,
new, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was a great
That was
experience.
such an awesome day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That day ruled.
And I emailed the
Well, we went back the next
estate
day,
company that following Monday after it was over, and I was
Do you
like,
have any more of these?
I was like, what are you guys gonna do with everything you have left over? And they emailed. They were like, everything's already been sold. Someone bought.
Yeah.
all the
Private
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
But-
They buy everything left over.
Not
I
surprised.
mean, the dude had like, not to keep talking about it, whatever, but the dude had even just his collection of hardware he had over the years. Like
Yeah.
he had drawers of springs and O-rings and
Mhm.
crap like that.
Right.
I bought a bunch of
That
that.
would have been like he had like drawers of old spark plugs and stuff.
Yeah, and just boxes of brand new Champion spark plugs.
Yeah,
Like,
brand new
Yeah,
Champion.
I have
Yeah,
a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like from the 60s.
I
They're
remember
brand
Dom
new.
and I, we were looking up on our phone like
The
what
numbers.
the different numbers went to. Like,
Yeah.
what bikes.
Should we buy it? It's for something
Yeah.
we need it for? You
Like
know, just stuff
Harley,
like
yeah,
that.
They're
He-
common bikes.
He just had a
Yeah.
lot of cool stuff, and I hope someday that when I die, I have as much stuff as he did.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
what our houses are
That's
going
what I
to
was
look
gonna
like.
say. I want somebody to do that with my stuff when I'm
You know,
dead. Just
I-
pick through all my
I-
crap and be excited about.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I accumulated so much stuff in my house that I
Yeah.
had to build a separate shed behind my house.
Shithole. John shithole.
Keep
Man,
everything.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't hold on to anything.
I can't.
John's got, but John comes through on the parts, man. He's got all the any
got
of
a
those,
lot of
those
stuff.
crazy pre.
If you need any pre-unit parts, close fabrication.
Yeah, call him,
Okay,
and then he'll tell you that he has them, and he won't give them
I'll
up.
give you an outrageous price, and if you want to pay,
Yeah.
Hey, supply
He'll
and
give
demand,
you.
man.
He'll give you the no sell price.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, well, that was a good story.
yeah.
Oh,
That was a great
Yeah,
such a
I think
good
I was
day.
broke, and I didn't even want to tease myself going up there.
Yeah,
You could have been broke and still got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pissed when I found out just how cheap everything was
It
going.
was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
And at the same time, I was kind of like on the fence of it. I didn't really know who the guy was. I did a little researching, and it came up some cool stuff, of course, who the guy was. And then it was kind of in my head, like, well, it could be like epic, or it could just be a
Yeah, the
Always,
advertisement was
yeah.
like real deceiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
because
remember the ad.
It didn't. It showed a lot of like the cabinets and like some shitty motorcycles.
and some like
reading
Harbor
the-
Freight like tool like
yeah,
Yeah.
the Harbor Freight
Yeah.
lift,
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But like reading the description, it was like, oh, somebody who doesn't know shit about motorcycles
Wrote it.
wrote this.
Right.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be rad.
yeah.
And
'cause
then we went there, and it was.
They
awesome.
mentioned like there's a bunch of spark plugs
Yeah.
and
There's drawers full of springs.
Right.
Might
Yeah.
be good. But
So.
it was a good time.
Cool.
Best day ever.
Anything else, Evan?
No,
I
we
want to
don't
go
need
back.
It. It's cool.
Give
We're
me time
good.
machine.
All right.
So, well, thanks to John and Dom for joining us. This was awesome. I think this is a good.
Yeah,
gonna
thanks
be a
guys
good
for having
show.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for having us.
Fun.
So make
Anytime
sure
you want us back, you know where to reach
yeah,
out.
Yeah,
Let
we'll
me know.
definitely have you guys back again. Make sure you check out closefabrication.com. Check out their Instagrams too. John's is closefab and Dom's is D_LaSalle, LASSALLE. So check them out on Instagram. They got all sorts of cool shit on there. And as always, check out racetchelectric.com, Seaweed and Gravel, motorbikemondays.com. Send us an email. You know we're always looking for topics, so definitely shoot us a message. And keep the comments coming on the website. We got a lot of good feedback on the carb shows, and anything you think of, shoot us a message. So we will be back next week.
Later, guys.
Yeah,
cool.
See you.